First, I'm going to tell you a quick story. Real quick story. So, I was riding in the country, in the good country. And as I was riding, I came upon a fork in the road. And I could go to the right, I could go to the left. I noticed that on the side that I was going to, which I was bearing to the left, on the side that I was going to, there was a fence there. And this fence was just a regular little fence, you know, that you see in the country, the farm, you know, that sort of thing. Nothing grand. Just like what you might see here. The horse, there was a horse back behind it. Horse was just kind of hanging out, chilling, you know, no big deal. But I'm flying down the road 45, 50, 55 miles an hour, right? And I see this. And as I'm coming up, I'm like, man, it would take absolutely nothing for that horse to jump that fence. Like, look how little the fence is. This is much of how it looked. Except the horse was probably even bigger than this one. But the horse was just walking around, and there was some other horses on the other side, and, you know, just kind of chilling out, you know. Go up to the fence, look over, come back, go on about their business. No big deal, right? The horse is chilling, like not a big deal. Not the fact that there's cars going down the road 40, 50, 60 miles per hour. Didn't faze them none at all. And it hit me. If this horse can jump this fence so easily, first question is, why didn't they put a bigger fence up? So the horse wouldn't be able to jump it. And then I thought about it. I was like, okay, better question. Why does the horse not jump the fence, knowing that it can? Then it hit me, okay, well, why would the horse want to move outside of the place of safety? Knowing that there are cars flying up and down the road, and all he's doing is grazing. And that he might not look up in time before danger is upon him. So for him, his fence is what lets him know where he can graze safely, where he can move about safely. That fence lets him know that on the other side it might be danger, but right in here, I'm good. And so the horse really would have no reason to want to move out of the place of safety simply because he can. The enemy wants the people of Yahweh to believe a lie. He wants us to believe that if you serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that the law, the Torah, that Old Testament stuff is the left side. That's the gate. That's your fence. He wants us to believe that there's barbed wires at the top and that there's this huge fence and there's these guards on top. That if you try to jump that fence, that you're going to get shot down immediately. He wants us to believe that the Torah itself is what keeps us incarcerated. He wants us to be of the mindset that the Torah and its boundaries that it sets is a prison to us. But I promise you that that horse has the ability to go beyond the limit, but has no good purpose or no good reason to do such because it's unsafe. And so is the Torah then the left side or the right side? It's the right side. It's the side that lets us know where safety ends and where danger begins. That is what Torah does. It lets us know where safety ends and where danger begins. So, does it have to be so tall that you can't get over it? Does it have to have guards standing at the top that as soon as you get over it, you get shot down? No. There was a period in time where Yahweh had to enforce and impress his Torah to the point that once you got over the fence, you got shot down. Why? Because he was retraining and reteaching an entire people. How can you get 6 to 7 million people to get one message? Y'all know how hard it is for us to do little stuff. Come on. You get about 10 people together. If y'all want to go out to eat, it turns from a, hey, I'm just going to get in my car and stop here, pay $6.52, move on, to this big in-depth discussion over who don't like what and why they didn't eat there the last time and what happened, why they want to go here, and that costs too much and that don't cost enough and they don't have to write this and that, and then you get there and they got the wrong sanitation grade, and then because you ain't about to eat there, so you're going to go somewhere else, but now y'all got to rediscuss. That's for 10 people. 6, 7, 8 million people that he had to teach limits and boundaries to. So the misconception is that the left side is what it was. No, it was the right side. But he said, oh, by the way, just so y'all get it, every time you jump over the fence, psst. Right. Yeah. But eventually, even when you know, they have these gateless fences now, where a dog, they put a collar on them, and they go a certain distance to it, and it shocks them. So at a certain point, they stay away from that altogether. They can take that collar off of them at that point. They won't go outside of it. They won't go outside of it because the boundaries have been set here. The boundaries are now here. The boundaries have entered their inner parts. The boundaries have entered their being. So now they don't need something to let them know what the boundaries are. Now, Yahweh is so omniscient that even creation has boundaries. We know and understand that. First, let's turn to Job chapter 38. Job chapter 38, we're going to read Job 38, 8 through 11. And this is going to help us to understand that even creation has a law to obey. And this is only a portion of this scripture. You can read the whole thing and you'll see even more. But Job chapter 38, verse 8 through 11, and it reads, or who enclosed the sea with doors, when it burst forth and came from the womb, when it made the clouds its garment, and thick darkness its swaddling band, and assigned for it my law. So we know who's talking in Job 38, right? Yahweh. Yahweh is responding to Job right here. So this is Yahweh. 10, and assigned for it my law, and set bars and doors, limits. Yeah. And said, this far you have come, but no farther, and here your proud waves stop. Stop. Yahweh put, that's right. Got a witness in here. Yahweh put in place boundaries and borders for everything. For everything. Everything. The same word that holds creation itself intact is given to us. The same word. That same word that orders the sea to stop at a certain point is also given to us. But guess what, y'all? We got one additional option that the sea don't have. Choice. Option. I can jump the fence if I really want to, because I'm a big horse and that's a little fence. I can jump that fence if I really want to. Torah was and is life and death. Something as simple as putting a border in place lets us know, hey, for this person, hey, you go too far, you're going to fall off the cliff. Why would you want to go beyond that fence? It doesn't make any sense. It tells you that there's danger. It tells you that there's a cliff. It tells you that if you pass this point, your risk of serious injury or death is very present. So, how much sense does it make for us to want to go outside of those boundaries? And in my opinion, only a mean and insufficient God would not give us boundaries. One that is spiteful and likes to make jokes of his creation. One that would look and say, hey, let's see if he falls into my trap that I set. Do we serve a God that sets traps for his creation? It doesn't make sense. So the only thing letting us know where the boundaries of safety exist is what? The Torah. The Torah. The Torah. We need a warning. Why do we need a warning? Because we need to know that on the other side of the fence is danger. So just a real quick recap. We went over this, it's been quite a while ago. Probably, I don't know, in the last six, 7 months or so. But just remember this. This is something you always want to remember. Because we say things and we don't always describe it. No. Everybody knows and understands the definition of sin that we've got from the scripture, right? And that is what?
Transgression of the law.
Right. So sin is the transgression of the law. Now, what is transgression? Transgression simply means to cross the line. Okay? So, in my little example, in my little playhouse, we are using fences, right? So, transgression would be to go over the fence. You transgress that fence when you cross over the line that the fence has created. What is the sin of iniquity? When you convince yourself that the fence is not 20 feet out, but is really 40 feet out. Now, the fence itself ain't moved, but you've convinced yourself that, oh, well, technically, I can hop the fence and just stay off the gravel and still not get hit by a car. So here's what I'm going to do, because I'm a smart horse. I'm going to hop the fence and just stay in the grass that's on the other side of the fence, which is still safe. That's iniquity. Because now you've taken the fence and convinced yourself that it is not your limit.
Right.
You've made and created your own limit. So you have now iniquity.
Right.
You have, in other words, iniquity translates to the word that means pervert.
That's right.
To twist, to pervert, to make it something that it's not. Right? Now, here's something that just hit me like a ton of bricks, and man, I told my wife on the way here I should have worn my Timberlands because I think they got a little harder toes than these, because I'm going to be stepping on my own toes, so if I trip and fall, I don't laugh at me. But don't be throwing nothing at me if I step on yours, okay? I'm going to dodge it. I'm real light on my feet. So, think about this. Go with me. Sin is a seed. Sin is a seed. What does a seed have? A harvest. What did we say sin was? Transgression of the law. Right? So if you transgress the law, you cross the line, you go over the fence, right? You transgress, or you decide that you in your mind done moved the fence, iniquity, then you have now planted a seed. Here's the problem. Every harvest is not the same. Every harvest is not predictable. And you never know how the harvest is going to look based on what the seed looks like. You can look at that seed all day long. In your mind, it's not going to pop up an apple tree. In your mind, it's not going to pop up some wheat. And if it does, it still has nothing to do with the true outcome. That seed is going to reap. When you reap the harvest, it's going to come forth based on what was sown. Period. Now, you never know when it's going to ripen. I'm going to use two quick examples. Small dosages and exposure to X-rays and gamma rays. Now, overexposure can have some fatal impact, right? We know that, you can be exposed to so much X-ray, gamma ray that basically an image of you is on the wall and everything else is disintegrated, right? So you just gone. That's how powerful that type of light is, right? And so if you now go to like me, I go to the doctor, right? Go in there and you take your X-ray and I'm like, wait a minute, you're going to put the lead vest on me and then you going to roll out? Why don't you get a lead vest and stay in here? Because if a lead vest is good for me, it should be good for you too. But you're going to real safety all the way over there. But then I thought about it and I learned a little bit more, and y'all know I like to do my research. So I studied and I figured out, okay, well, this is not, and this is what I want you to really get in your head. This is not a event. This is a process. The sowing of seed is not an event. It is a process. Y'all got that? The sowing of seed is not an event. It's a process. And I'm not talking about just the time when you put the seed in the ground. I'm talking about everything that then has to take place in order to get to a harvest, right? And so if you are being constantly exposed to little dosages of this dangerous radiation, over time, you will get to the level of overexposure. And once that happens, do you see immediately the first time you push the button and take the X-ray and you were standing in there without the lead jacket, do you see your body parts just start melting and everything? No, because it's not enough to do that. But it's enough to plant a seed and 10, 15, 20 years later, in your children comes a harvest. And suddenly you're trying to figure out, what in the world? Cancer didn't run in our family. Nobody had cancer. Deformities never happened to any of our children. Why is my child coming out deformed? All of these little dosages, right? My point is this. Just because you hopped the fence and there was an immediate harvest of death doesn't mean that you're not in danger. I'm going to say that again. Just because you hopped the fence and you did not immediately die does not mean you're not still in danger. It just might be that seed got a little more growing to do. And over time, the growth of that seed you'll see. Same thing. I'm going to give y'all one more example. These are statistics from the CDC. The CDC says that 480,000 people, that's a lot of people. 480,000 people. Anybody know how many people are in Winston-Salem, the population?
Around 230 last census.
230?
230 million.
200,000. 230,000. Okay. So let's put that in perspective. It's about 230,000 people in Winston-Salem. Imagine every year, 2 Winston-Salems full of people are dead. Anybody ever go to Haynes Mall? There's a lot of people around there, ain't it? Traffic's crazy. Anybody ever ride up and down 52 at 4:58 p.m.? Anybody ever ride down Silas Creek Parkway at 4:59 p.m.? It's a lot of people. 230,000 people, two times, and it's still less than 480,000. Now, I'm gonna tell y'all where I'm going with this. 480,000 people die every year of cigarette smoke. Something to do with smoking cigarettes. Whether it's the cancer, whatever it is. Something to do with cigarette smoke. Here's the deal. Every single pack has a warning. Every one.
Yes, sure does.
And it says, don't smoke me because I'm dangerous and I'm going to kill you eventually. You can go to Altria, which is Philip Morris. You can go to R.J. Reynolds, America, they right down the street. You can go to Lorillard in Greensboro. You can go to all these companies' websites, and they will hook you up with people to help you stop. They put millions of dollars into programs to help people stop smoking. But they are very successful companies. They make a lot of money. That would be like me selling concrete and telling everybody who buys concrete, don't buy me. And I'm still filthy rich. The warning is there. Y'all know what the problem is? Anybody remember them little toy cigarettes you would light up? And as soon as you light it up, it go pop. It had a little pop. It was like pop, 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 pop. Yeah.
The bubblegum ones where they glue the...
No, I'm talking about the ones that pop. Yeah, well, it'll go pop. So let's imagine this. Y'all ride with me real quick. Imagine this. 2 Winston-Salem full of people, right? Like one single cigarette. And it went boom and they died. Do you think we would have any smokers? No. So why do people still ignore the boundary that's set? Why do we ignore the boundary that's set? Because you didn't put it in your mouth and immediately die. You plant the seed, and just because the harvest is not staring you in the face, you ignore the fact that it's coming eventually. Proven fact. 480,000 people. 10 years less lifespan. Very high life insurance premiums. I mean, immediately. I had the pleasure of learning that earlier this week with, not with me, because I don't smoke, but that's what I do for a living. And so I'm done put this lady through all this stuff, got everything done, and then comes back, smoker. I was like, you didn't tell me as a smoker. I would have known that. I would have told you this was not going to work. Like, when the last time you smoked? Well, when I was on the way to your office. But I quit.
5 minutes.
Man, it's been like 2 days. Man, they ain't gonna take that. Automatically, price goes up. Boom. Proven fact. Only because the actual harvest is not staring you in the face, we continue to transgress. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 30. And we're going to read down to 20. So we're going to do a good bit of reading here. Deuteronomy chapter 30. We're going to read from verse 1 all the way to verse 20. Okay? Here's what I want y'all to listen for. Here's what I want you to keep in mind. Keep in mind what we're talking about, the boundaries of Torah. The sowing of sin seeds outside of the boundaries that don't always result in instantaneous death. Keep all of this in mind. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 1, and I'll begin reading. And it shall be, when all these words come upon you, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before you, in other words, giving you the choice, and you shall bring them back to your heart among all the Gentiles where Yahweh your Elohim drives you. Ding, 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 ding. We've been driven into the Gentiles. We're here, and so we should be thinking about these things. 2, and shall turn back to Yahweh your Elohim and obey his voice according to all that I command you today, with all your heart and with all your being, you and your children. Then Yahweh your Elohim shall turn back your captivity and shall have compassion on you. And he shall turn back and gather you from all the peoples where Yahweh your Elohim has scattered you. If any of you are driven out to the farthest parts under the heavens, ding, 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 from there Yahweh your Elohim does gather you, and from there he does take you. And Yahweh your Elohim shall bring you to the land which your fathers possessed, and you shall possess it. And he shall do good, shall do good to you, and increase you more than your fathers. And Yahweh your Elohim shall circumcise your heart and the heart of your seed, to love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being, and so that you might live. And Yahweh your Elohim shall put all these curses on your enemies and on those who hate you, who persecuted you. And you shall turn back and obey the voice of Yahweh and do all his commands which I command you today. Verse 9. And Yahweh your Elohim shall make you have excess in all the work of your hand, in the fruit of your body, and in the fruit of your livestock, and in the fruit of your ground for good. For Yahweh turns back to rejoice over you for good, as he rejoiced over your fathers. If you obey, if you obey the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, to guard his commands and his laws which are written in the book of the Torah, if you turn back to Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being, for this command which I am commanding you today is not too hard for you, nor is it far off. It is not in the heavens to say, who shall ascend into the heavens for us and bring it to us and cause us to hear it, so that we do it. Man, they ain't trying to take no responsibility. Go get it, bring it to me, and then make me do it. Verse 14, for the word is very near you, in your heart, in your mouth, and in your heart. In your mouth and in your heart to do it. You speak it out. Why is it in your mouth? 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 It's in your mouth so you can speak it. Who's going to hear it when you speak it? Your seed, your children, your ears, your being. Everything around you receives the seed that Yahweh sowed. What did Yahweh create with? His mouth.
Yes.
He's telling us to speak it so we can create it, so that it comes to being.
Right. Yes.
And in your heart, why? Because you cherish. You will hold it close. What does he say? Guard to do.
Yes.
To do it. Verse 15. See, I have set before you today life and good, and death and evil. in that I am commanding you, Yahweh commanded us today to love Yahweh your Elohim, to walk in his ways and to guard his commands and his laws and his right rulings. And you shall live and increase, and Yahweh your Elohim shall bless you in the land which you go to possess. But if your heart turns away and you do not obey, and shall be drawn away over the fence, transgressing, right? If you shall be drawn away and shall bow down to other mighty ones and serve them, I have declared to you today that you shall certainly perish. You shall not prolong your days in the land which you are passing over the Jordan to enter and possess. I have called the heavens and the earth as witnesses today against you. I have set before you life and death, blessings and curse. Therefore you shall choose life, so that you live, both you and your seed, to love Yahweh your Elohim, to obey his voice, and to cling, to grab hold of, to cling to him. For he is your life and the length of your days, to dwell in the land which Yahweh swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov, to give them. All about guarding, keeping, listening, obeying, following the instructions of the Creator. Why? What do you want? Trial by error or fair warning? What makes more sense? Trial by error. I'll just close my eyes and walk blindly. If I fall and hurt myself, then I know don't go that way no more. Or do you want a fair warning? A fair warning. I'm going to tell y'all something about grace. Everybody's talking about grace, and we're in a dispensation of grace. And grace, grace, grace. Grace, grace, grace. Grace was in the garden. And grace warns. Yahweh said, do not eat of. That's grace. How mean and insufficient would our God have been if he said, y'all can eat of every tree in here except for one. I ain't going to tell you which one. It's like all kind of trees. Take your pick, just don't pick wrong. Because when you eat of whatever that tree is, you're going to die. Good luck. That's from taking it. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
He's either mean or he himself don't know which one, so he's insufficient. We don't serve a mean God, and we don't serve one that's insufficient, lacking in any way. So grace warns. Grace warns. I got an example I want to use here. Y'all turn to Deuteronomy chapter 22. Deuteronomy chapter 22, we're going to read verse 8. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 8. And it reads, when you build a new house, then you shall make a parapet for your roof, so that you do not bring blood guilt on your house when one falls from it. Why did it say when? Because he knew that somebody was going to ignore the fact that there was a boundary right there. And they're going to fall from it. And guess what they can't do? They can't come back to you and say, negligence. You didn't let me know that there was an edge right there, and so I fell off. There was something up there. You had to literally jump over it to get your hind parts into danger. And now you want to sue me because you got a broke leg because you fell from my roof? No. The blood guilt is not on my house. Why? Because you were warned. Yahweh is not unjust. Yahweh is not mean. And he's not insufficient. So just because the fence is little, don't mean you got to jump it just because you can. Just because Yahweh does no longer have the guards standing there waiting to chop your head off when you break the Torah, doesn't mean it's okay to break the Torah or to sow the seed of sin. Simply because that one puff didn't blow up in your face. Simply because that one exposure to radiation didn't disintegrate you. Just because that one time you jumped over the fence, nothing happened, doesn't make it okay. And it doesn't make the fence any less relevant. So, can the horse jump the fence? Yes. It absolutely can. The question is, why would he want to? Can we break Torah? Yes, absolutely can. Can we transgress Torah? Yes, absolutely can. But the question is the same, why would we want to? It's our safety. It's our protection. It's our pyramid. It lets us know that on the other side of this,